you see, that's fate. Believe, that's all you need. Can't sleep, but I dream. I see.
All right, so Earl, thank you so much first and foremost for talking with me about your film. Um, you are obviously the visionary, and this came from you. I know you had some people assist you with this, but tell me first and foremost, just from the beginning, the start of this, where did this idea of this film, King Boulevard, come from?
For sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me today for really discussing a really important topic. I really appreciate it. Well, basically, the idea kind of originated in 2008. I was, the market kind of tanked and I was looking for a position. And a friend of mine lived in like another city. And, this is like way before telemarketing was like a thing. Zoom wasn't even around in 2008. So you actually kind of had to live where you actually wanted to work. So I said, hey, man, can I use your address to apply for jobs in that area? And he let me do it. But he lived on MLK Boulevard. And we joked at that time that, oh man, that's like the hood, that's like a bad part of town. But sure enough, it was. There were things happening, cars breaking into crime, graffiti, things like that. So we always kind of joked about that. And when I began to make films and media, I always kind of wanted to come back to that to say, like, why is it? Why is a street that was meant to honor such a great man really kind of in a lot of the bad parts of town in many cities? So I researched the issue and I found that it's not a coincidence. There's really reasons, there are economical reasons, political reasons, racial reasons why the street is where it is. So that's what the movie is about.
Um, I obviously even growing up, I guess when I think about it, a lot of the areas that I've been in, the places that I've seen when it comes to MLK, it's always been there have been in places where it's kind of like the
Mhm.
underserved,
Sure,
underreached
sure.
neighborhoods. Um, what did you find out when you were doing research about this and why this is?
No, a great question. So a lot of times to name a street after someone, you need support of people who actually live and work on that street. So in many instances, a community group, a church group, a advocacy group want to actually name a really popular, thriving street in the city after MLK. And that's kind of where the friction comes in because now you need support for people who live and work on that street. So people may or may not want to kind of have their name, the street named after MLK for a variety of reasons. One being maybe the expense that is actually incurred to change business cards and create new logos and to the mail and all those things. So that kind of is a reason there. Also, people may not feel that, he is their hero. They may feel that MLK really supported maybe one group or, two groups of individuals, and maybe they didn't necessarily weren't impacted by what he did for them per se. And also there's this negative stigma. If some business owners feel that if their location is located on MLK Boulevard, then people may or may not have a want to come. They may feel a certain way about coming to that business. So there's all these things that kind of come into play when people want to name a street after MLK Boulevard. So a lot of times they're settling for maybe their second, third, or fourth choice for the street. And a lot of times that's kind of they need to get support from people that really are excited about MLK, and a lot of times that's kind of in like the underserved communities or the black parts or the minority areas, and as we know historically those areas are usually underserved and underdeveloped. So that's kind of a lot of reasons why the street is where it is in certain cities.
Yeah, I mean, because you even think about, for example, Jay-Z has a song, and in his song he
Yep,
said,
yep,
"I'm
yep.
good on any MLK Boulevard," essentially implying that he's good in any hood, which
Exactly, exactly.
implies MLK Boulevard is always in the hood, which, as we know, generally it is,
Yeah,
always
yeah,
in a
yeah.
hood per se.
Mhm.
What did you in this movie walk me through kind of the plot of this movie that you created? Because you created this movie based on.
Yes. Yes, yes. So it's a narrative film about a young man who lives on MLK Boulevard and he applies for a position. And when the interviewer sees that he lives on MLK Boulevard, he kind of is shut down. He's kicked out the interview process. It's like a comedy, like a social comedy about that. So because he knows that he's not being able to kind of strive and reach his career because he lives on MLK Boulevard, he sets out on a quest to actually improve MLK Boulevard in his community. And along the way, he meets kind of, some interesting friends and interesting situations. And while the time he's trying to improve the community, there's another group that actually wants to kind of buy the land and the houses for really cheap cheap price and build a stadium on MLK Boulevard. So there's this idea of the gentrification aspects of kind of redeveloping urban areas and kind of pushing out the minorities individuals as well. So we kind of talk about that, and the character kind of faces that on almost trying to revive his community and to get a position that really kind of suits his skill set.
And while I know this obviously is a movie meant to laugh, but also educate, this is real life. I mean, when we think about MLK Boulevards and areas where this is in, oftentimes people come in and they want to redevelop these areas, but really it's gentrification, and then you're pushing out the original people who were there because now they can't afford to live there.
Exactly. That happens in so many areas, even in Los Angeles, where the Rams new stadiums were placed there, but that was actually near the MLK Boulevard location. So rents are going up, people are being pushed out. So it's really unfortunate. And I wanted to kind of touch on that issue in the film to let people know that we need to kind of preserve the history along MLK Boulevard to make sure that we honor Dr. King in the correct way.
Why, when you created the film, why then? I mean, you could create this film whenever, anybody could do it. When was it that you said, okay, I'm going to do this? And obviously, there's a deeper meaning behind this film.
Sure, sure, sure. No, we did actually a short film, like maybe 10, 15-minute version of it to kind of have people see the idea and also get investors aboard on the project. So we shot the short film in like 2018. So and it was done around 2019. And then of course 2020 happened, and George Floyd was unfortunately murdered, and then that kind of really put the battery in our pack to really start to kind of get more. That really actually allowed more investors to kind of see the issue and see the need for the project. And we were able to raise money and thankfully make the movie for a pretty good price and have a full-length feature film for it.
Walk me through kind of the film process. Who's in this movie, and how did you cast all of this?
No, sure. The film is it's a micro budget, meaning that it's not the Black Panther budget that you see in these Marvel movies or whatever. But we try to put like a shoestring budget together. But we have a smaller crew of actors. I would say maybe four lead. It's more of a ensemble type film where you don't necessarily have like a lead actor per se, but they all kind of have equal screen time. So there's one actor that has been a friend of mine for a really long time, great actor, Desmond Crenshaw. I wrote the role specifically for him. He's a really comedic talent, a really just energetic young man, and I was able to get him aboard the project. And then I was able to cast the lead character, well, the main character, who's actually the guy who wants to improve his community. I was able to reach out online, have a couple of auditions, and this guy really kind of knocked it out the park and was able to get cast in the film. And then other members were more so like friends of friends or people that people knew. So it's really when you make a film, you want to be able to kind of have like a family environment where people kind of know each other already, because you're kind of all working together, making something really important. So you don't want to kind of be have strangers and people that you aren't necessarily comfortable with. So we try to make sure that maybe I knew someone or somebody else knew someone, so we all were kind of felt comfortable to work together, make a really great project.
What do you want your viewers and people to take away from this? Black, white, green, blue, whatever. What do you want them to walk away with?
No, that's a great question, and I really was intentional about having one of the lead characters actually be white, because I wanted to make sure that even though when people hear Dr. King or MLK, they kind of think, okay, it's a black issue, but it's really not, in my opinion. MLK stood for equal rights for all people, and I think once you see the movie, you'll see that there's all races coming together to really have the solution to improve MLK Boulevard. So no matter what color, creed you are, I think that the spirit of unity and the spirit of uplifting, those who are underserved and preserving the history of Dr. King, as well as other individuals who did great things in our country, is really important.
It sounds like you also are working to educate people who may overlook some of the bigger systemic issues that many people who don't look like us may not recognize, because we know, because we're affected by many of these
Right.
issues. The people who aren't affected often, you don't realize people are affected by things until you're actually affected by it sometimes.
Right.
And it sounds like things like gentrification and things are what you really wanted to point in on as well in this film.
Oh yes, for sure. That was definitely an issue, because a lot of times the economical aspects of, underserved communities are overlooked because, people are kind of drawn to new and big and brighter and a shopping center or a stadium or all these things that are really great and bring in tax revenue, but they don't kind of look at the underlying issue where people are being pushed out, people are being, outpriced, things of that nature. And, Dr. King wasn't about, pushing anybody out. He was about having an equal playing field, giving people an opportunity for upward mobility and being able to have a prosperity for themselves and their families. So that was really important for us for sure.
How important is this conversation right now, especially as we go into Black History Month, but just in general in the state of our country right now, where sometimes it seems like history, some individuals are trying to erase history or imply as if it's not important to teach or as if it just never happened.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's lots of things that are happening in this country that, are unfortunate, so to speak, where, the legacy and the impactful work of individuals are being overlooked or kind of swept under the rug. And I think that's why it's important for, artists like myself and others to use mechanisms to kind of remind people. And that's another reason why we wanted to make it kind of like comedic, so to speak. With the comedy aspects, it kind of comes down a little bit softer. It's not heavy-handed where you kind of say, this is wrong and this is your fault or whatever. But when the comedy is kind of rolled into it, it kind of it's a bit more welcoming and it's a bit more digestible for all individuals from all aspects of life. So we want things like art and entertainment and plays and things like that to really be helpful to let people know that there are aspects that we need to talk about, and we shouldn't just kind of try to, whitewash things and help people understand that, there was a litany of individuals who made this country great for sure.
Um, you as the filmmaker, the visionary, how does it feel for you, you being able to do a project like this? That wow, yes, we laugh and it's fun to watch. It's also there's symbol. I mean, there's always symbolism behind any form of art, and you put your form of art in a way to where you're educating people, but also bringing joy and making people laugh in such a powerful way.
No, for sure. It means a lot to me. Growing up, I learned early that, the power of media and the power of imagery. I remember when I first went to college, I went to college kind of in not like a rural area, but definitely not like a really dense city area. And I remember seeing kids who did look like me still knew things, that they knew about my culture, or they knew about things that I thought were only prevalent to my, kind of group of people. So, and they had certain perceptions about what I did or what I ate or how I talked or things like that. And sometimes that was okay, sometimes it was like, wait, hold on, that's not that's not cool or whatever. So I learned then that wow, like the images that we see are really important. And that's why I was really excited about projects like this that have social commentary, but also have the comedic slant to say, hey, certain things that we may perceive about other individuals aren't necessarily true. And maybe things that you believe about people, there's a reason behind it. Just understanding kind of the motivations about why people may feel a certain way are really important. And I think those things can really help us come together as a country.
Um, Anything else in terms of the movie itself, the film itself? How can it be viewed? And obviously, February. I mean, any time is a good time to watch it, but there is a great time to watch it too, I imagine.
No, for sure. Black History Month is a great time. The film was just released maybe like a month and a half ago, but it's available on Amazon Prime. So they could just search the bar there, King Boulevard, KINGBLVD. It'll pop up there. Also on Google Play. But yeah, Black History Month is a really important time where we kind of, especially with the state of our country as it is now, I think it's a really great moment to just take a step back and reflect on all the achievements of individuals of the Black community that really made an impact, especially Dr. King and others.
I meant to ask you, where did you film this at?
It was in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, in Detroit. Okay, and obviously, being from Michigan, I know, and not far from the Detroit area, I know there's an MLK Boulevard there.
Oh,
There's
yes, yes.
generally, and I know that was the point of it, right? That there's generally an MLK Boulevard in every Black city. So,
Correct, 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 correct.
got it. Anything else I didn't ask you about this film that you want viewers to know or take away from, or even just your efforts when you were putting this together?
I think one other thing is that the crew that created this project was I think a microcosm of the themes of the movie. I mean, we had people from the white community, we had Asians, we had black individuals, we had a lot of women on set. You know, the age range was, you know, from younger to the more mature audience. So I think it was a really collective kind of universal group of individuals that came together. And a lot of these people, you know, like I said before, the budget wasn't, you know, the same thing they had for Gladiator Part Two. You know, we had a very small budget, and people kind of did favors for us. They stayed late. They came early for a minimum amount of money. I think because of the topic, because of the reverence and respect for Dr. King and what he did, and the hope that this message can really be impactful for generations to come, for sure.
Okay, well, Earl, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for making yourself available, and I plan to watch this film this upcoming weekend as well too. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope many of our viewers watch it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You see, that's fate. Believe, that's all you need. Can't sleep, but I